Welcome to Cars on Call. I'm automotive journalist Steve-0. We're here with trauma surgeon Dr. Stephan Moran. We're the only podcast that has a trauma surgeon who can talk about trauma with some actual knowledge, knows what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah,
Stefan,
but today we're not going to impart any trauma knowledge today. I'm
it's
well,
always there.
it's always there, and I may have a comment, but today is more about you Porsche guys and me chiming in with a little bit at the end about the Cobra update. This is kind of like a Porsche special with Jeff.
It's
Um,
good.
it's two new
Yeah,
owners. You guys have two additional Porsches. Yet I don't have one, but eventually.
yeah.
But I got the hat.
Which takes us to Jeff Bank, Dr. Jeff Bank, my partner, who you just got a new. We'll start with you because two of us got enthusiast Porsches recently, used old ones, but nevertheless, they're new to us. And then, of course, Dr. Moran, we talked about his incredible ERA Cobra, and we're going to get a little update on that. But let's start with Jeff because, Jeff, your car, that this was number one, a cool car. Number two, the story of how you got it and who you got it from is even cooler.
Well, thank you guys for having me back on. Thrilled to be here and thrilled to discuss this, once in a lifetime car that I got. So I bought a 2009 Porsche 911 Cabriolet base on Cars and Bids. Really, it's been about a month ago after really searching for honestly the last almost 6 months, kind of keeping a close eye on the market, but it midnight blue over tan with just under whopping 12,000 miles, and I was blown away. I was able to find something like this.
This
And
is
it was
just repeat that. This is a almost 20-year-old car. It's absolutely pristine and has how many miles?
11,000, about 700 is when I bought it.
Oh,
It
I
currently
didn't hear.
has
I,
about
I missed
11.8.
that.
Yeah. Yes.
Holy
Yes.
crap.
I was hoping for something 40 to 80,000, and then this showed up, but I was like, well, this more than fits the bill and is way under the number of miles I was hoping for, and it's pristine. Love the car. It's essentially brand new, coming out of the showroom. Just happens to be 17 years old, and bought the seller I bought it from. I actually called him on the weekend before the auction closed, and he graciously took
Which
my
auction
call when
site,
he.
Jeff? I missed
Oh,
that.
Cars and Bids is where I bought it. And so messaged the seller directly. He called me when he was at the beach in Virginia to discuss the car, answer my questions, and then I arranged a pre-purchase inspection on the day the auction closed, and it also got an oil change, and that was the pre-purchase inspection was well worth the whopping $100 that I paid for it at the local shop there in Virginia. The car then arrived a couple weeks later, and I've been driving it to work the last week, and took it for a nice ride with the girls that when the weather was nice with the top down, and got to explore. There it is, inaugural ride with them in the back, and they fit quite nicely in those. Hardly a seat in the back, but they are definitely the right size, and you can see the
And your
grins on their
daughters
on
are
their
car
face.
enthusiasts.
They are 9 and 6, and they. I just talked to them before we recorded, and they are happy that this replaced the much beloved dinosaur, our 2003 BMW M5. They said this sounds even nicer and is even faster. So that put a put a grin on my face, as well as theirs.
Well, as a kid, there's nothing like riding in the back seat of a convertible. I mean, I think that
Yes,
it
yes,
doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, for kids, that's just the ultimate experience. I remember riding back of a convertible as a kid, and I just thought it was the coolest place you could be ever. I mean, you're just smiling at everybody. Look at me. This is so cool. And the wind in the
for
hair, and
sure.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. We drove it last night. We went to downtown Eagle, and let a middle or younger middle-aged couple cross in front of us, and the guy gave us a thumbs up as he crossed in the crosswalk, and the girls were just giggling in the back, like, "Oh my gosh, this guy gave us a thumbs up!" And they're just beyond thrilled. And now they have tasked my wife with driving it for the first day at school. She can kind of drive a stick, but you have to relearn and get a little more confidence with this. And to be honest, like the stick shift in the 911 is pretty darn straightforward. So I think she will have no issues, and they will be more than egging her on to obtain that skill so they can show off their new car on the first day of school.
Hey, question for you. So I love the
Yeah.
color combination, the blue with the tan interior. What color is the top? Is it black or just
It's
blue?
a Metropole blue, so it's another
Oh,
dark
nice.
it's a dark blue. So yeah, looks great. Top's in good condition, and so been overjoyed with the car and the seller I bought it from. His name is Ferris. He is was more than gracious with me and taking my phone calls and answering questions. And he even waited an extra day, kind of delayed his vacation so that they could the car company who or excuse me the shipping company who picked it up was a day late, and he stayed so it could be shipped to me on time before I left for a vacation last week for a Fourth of July trip back home. And so I have nothing but excellent things to say about Ferris. Thank you so much for entrusting me with your car.
You know, on our first show ever, Stefan talked about his experience with his mom driving a V8 fastback Mustang, and that was a four-speed manual transmission car. But what an impression it made on him and his brother. Well, this is the same thing for your daughters, Jeff.
For sure. It really is that and our M5, and then they get the Steve, as we've talked about, really this is the past, and then our girls also have the future with our lucid gravity that they also get to ride around in, and with a stark contrast in the amount of technology with this not even having a backup camera and that having 20 cameras in it.
Yeah, I just think it's great. And you can have a bad experience on an auction site. And I keep hearing about different bad experiences. Bring a trailer. I had a car for sale briefly that was created by AI. Uh,
What? I didn't hear that.
not
Really?
not
Wow.
not a real car. It was created by AI and it went up and they didn't catch it until someone caught it and said, "Hey, this." They had to pull that down.
I
And then
never read
there's
about that anywhere. I can't believe it. I mean, that's a major league news story.
go ahead and
Glad they
Google it.
caught it. Wow.
Go ahead and Google it when we're done. And then, of course, you have situations where a car is misrepresented, and it could be misrepresented very badly. And Bring a trailer and cars and bids, they do a really good NP car market. They do a really good job of trying to make sure that nothing gets past them, but it can get past them. It can get past the commenters. So this is something that you really are kind of going in blind. And if you can connect with the seller and have that transparency, which you did, then you're going to have a good outcome. It increases the likelihood anyway. Damn. Well, I haven't seen your car in person yet, but I can't wait. There it is. That's it.
A
So
1999 Cadillac DeVille. You know,
yeah.
I do remember seeing this come across, and
What?
I'm
It
thinking
was
like,
this is what AI created?
and so past
Yeah.
listing, the guys actually had six bids in the past, and but he listed whoever it is listed this AI car. That is. I got to go back. I can't wait to read the comments on
I give him credit for listing it no reserve. If you don't have a car, whatever money you get is good money. So no
that.
reserve, why not?
Oh, mercy. That's fantastic.
Oh.
Will you ship the car? Yeah, sure, no problem.
Here's, can your computer see JPEGs? Because yeah.
You can pay
Oh,
him in
mercy.
crypto, make it even better. Make it untraceable.
Well, I know Jeff has been looking for that car for a while, but I know his search was intensified after he drove my car.
Oh
So
my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
we live streamed the sale of my 2013 M3. That was back in mid-January. It was no reserve. It did really well. That was on Bring a Trailer. And once I sold that, of course, I wanted to get a 997.2. That was my goal. So I started the search. And I assumed 997.1 generation, which is basically 2005 to 2012, that they sold a lot of those. It was very good looking. It was a return to the traditional 911, and it was reasonably priced. So that's so, and the economy back then did was quite strong. So that car did very well. The global financial crisis hit in 2008. Really, 2009 is when that really hit. And for 2010, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's where the global financial crisis was really hitting. Well, the 997.1 was 2005 to 2008, and then the 997.2 was 2009 to 2012. So this is the 911 that was most impacted by the global financial crisis. Almost no 911 was hit that hard by a global financial problem. The only thing that came close was the 964 in like 1990 to 93. So the 997.2 for that reason, number one, there's not a lot of them. It was also the first model with PDK, and there was like an 80% take rate for the automatic PDK, so it's hard to find a manual. And most convertibles were automatic because it's more of a boulevard car. So it's still sporty, but the people that bought them new tended to want the automatic. So Jeff, you really scored by finding a six speed. And then you drove mine,
Really
and we can
did.
show that.
Yep.
I thought it would take a long time to find this car, and then it was in Portland at a dealer, and it was 40,000 miles, white on black, which is what I was looking for. I could have, if it was a fancy color, I would have considered it, but I really wanted white on black, which was, white is what my BMW M3 was. I like white cars, and white on black with a manual transmission and an S two-wheel drive only. That's what I wanted. And all of a sudden, it pops up, and I just said yes, and I had to check that, and it checked out great, and I said I'll buy it, and I bought it without seeing it myself, just like Jeff. And I picked it up. It was great. I've now had it for, that was late March. I've now had it for, about 4 months. It's been absolutely a joy every time I get in it. Anything like going to the store or anything like that, I'm taking this car. Anything local, I'm taking this car. A longer trip, I'll take my other 911. But I have to say, I am absolutely thrilled. And Jeff, you can chime in on this. And I know, Stefan, you're going to get there, but how fortunate are we? I love cars since I was a kid. If you told me I would have a 911 one day, I would say, okay, I think so, but I don't know. And then now I have it. I almost have to pinch myself.
Oh, I go out to the garage. I'm like, oh nope, it's still there. Yeah, this is it genuinely amazing, and I consider myself so fortunate to own it. And as you had said, trying to find a stick shift 997.2 is you're looking at 15%, and then I actually looked at the you know odds of how many cars like mine were produced, and it was probably about 50 or so 997.2 cabs blue with a stick worldwide. And I think that I'm sure you're C2S here is, I mean, a similar, very, very rare car. And just thinking that this is the sweet spot generation of a 911 to own with enough tech, but still an analog experience. It's, yeah, I, so many blessings to have one.
What I love about the dot twos, a couple little things is if you look at the picture, they have LED headlights, which make it look more modern. And then the front and rear ends are a little smoother, more modern than the dot one. So to me, yeah, it's an old car, so to speak, but it looks fresh and it looks modern. Just those simple things like that
Go
make
ahead
it
and
look,
scroll down and you can see the other views.
to me, it makes it look so much nicer than the dot one. But and also you get a little better engine in the dot two. You get some better electronics, and the dot two really for me is the way to go if I ever get one. That would be kind of in my price range. And I think it's the perfect size Porsche, and at the same time, it's modern enough that it drives so much better than like the SCs and some of the earlier ones that I always thought I wanted.
Yeah, they're a little, the early air cooled are pretty raw. And this is pretty refined, but still analog and not as digital as the newer models. So, which takes us to Stefan, you're not getting one right away because you just got an ERA Cobra, which is, you said, one of two narrow hip Cobras that there are,
Yeah,
at least for
so
Cobras.
so a little update on my Cobra. Yeah, just to refresh everybody. So you guys, your cars are a little bit analog. Mine is way analog. Mine is so analog, it's like a tube amplifier. There, there's the only my car actually does have a computer, and it's
Yours isn't
a
analog, it's prehistoric.
it's prehistoric,
An
but
actual dinosaur. Yeah.
it is actual dinosaur. But I do have the fuel injection in it, which is modern. But so this last week, we all get paper cuts. So let me tell you what, if you look here inside, this is the cockpit. I lined the entire cockpit with what's called Dynamat, which is butyl rubber that has aluminum on top. And you do it for two reasons. One is sound deadening, and another for heat control. So I kind of went overboard. My previous Cobra was hot as hell because you had the side pipes. This one's gonna have undercar exhaust. So no air conditioning. So you want to manage the heat coming through the engine compartment up underneath. So I went a little crazy, completely covered the front and rear with this butyl. Dynamat. And here you can see I did a little woodworking. I had to make a mount to hold the steering wheel so we could roll the car out and get it on a trailer because the steering wheel is actually held on by the dash. So I made this mount. And then if you blow it up here, all these wires that you see, whoops, sorry about that. All these wires in here are all for the electronic fuel injection, which was a nightmare.
Wow.
But I got it.
Wow. Did,
Yeah, it is crazy the wiring harness for the fuel injection.
love that steering wheel. Did you do the wood on the steering wheel as well?
So that is a custom steering wheel from Modellita in
Okay.
England.
Okay.
Normally, most everybody gets a 15-inch rim. The originals had 16. That's why this thing looks so huge because it is original size 16. And then I also had
It's
them
like a
add.
bus.
It is like a bus. It's like a semi truck. But without with pure manual steering, you want a big steering wheel. It gives you mechanical advantage.
Leverage. Yeah. Yeah.
And but it also it's these little details that I'm going through that just make it look right. And then I did have them add a 1/4 inch of wood on the back side of the steering wheel, so it's a little beefier, it's thicker. So there's extra core. And then you're right, the finish on it is the wood is sapele, which in England they can't use any exotics anymore. They have to be approved woods. So they can't do mahoganies imported anymore. They do sapele. But I told them do not finish it because I did. What they do is they put this really thick gloss on it. If you ever seen a wooden steering wheel, it's all glossy. My steering wheel is not glossy at all. It's what's called a hard wax finish, so it's got a nice soft appearance to it. My wife noted that against the bomber brown leather that this is too orange. So I'm actually going to resand it and then we're going to stain it darker so that the orange so you don't have the orange of this wood contrasting with the tan leather, but that's the natural color of that. A couple other things I went a little bit crazy here.
Before
There's
you leave
a
that,
oh
Stefan,
yeah.
you were an Air Force veteran, not just an Air Force veteran, you were a flyer, you were a flight surgeon, and you were issued one of those Air Force leather jackets in that brown. And that brown from that Air Force jacket you
Oh,
were issued is the color and kind of texture of the seats, the leather seats, or the leather upholstery.
yeah, so all the leather, the the jacket's called the A1 jacket, which is a leather jacket. You see flyers. I had one as a flight surgeon. And so the leather matches my flight jacket, which is my leather flying jacket. Dad was a
That's so
retired pilot.
cool.
Brother was a retired pilot. So I just had to bring in my aviation history into the car. Just kind of gives it all these little things kind of give it a little touch of provenance for a replica. And
And
then
very sentimental. That's and very thoughtful. Yeah.
And the other thing I did, which is aviation themed, I'm going to zoom this up. So this is the engine compartment here, and these black tubes are the heater tubing. And if you look about every 10 centimeters here, you see what kind of looks like a flat string. Well, that's the military grade spec lacing loom. So when you loom a wire, so an airplane's got a wiring harness. By code, they have to tie the harness together, and you use this lacing tape. It's a wax tape that's fire resistant. So no cable ties. Anywhere you can see that I had to tie something together, I use this aviation mil spec tape, and it adds a cool thing. Um, we got the car loaded up. My buddy Ed Terry let me borrow his trailer. So we got it loaded up, and then the the car is currently in Birmingham. I'm gonna switch shop. I want to give a shout out here to Walker Morgan. Let me share this. This guy But Walker Morgan is it's called Morgan Performance Fabrication, and he is in Birmingham, and I got his name from Andrew Clark, who's been on the show previously. Here we go. And this guy is a artist with pipe. He works in stainless steel and titanium, and every this is you can see for those of you who aren't watching, but these are pictures of his some of the exhaust piping he's done and his welds, and he creates these any kind of box you want inside for expansion tank. He does a lot of turbocharger and supercharger work, but his work is just absolutely meticulous. It's gorgeous work. So he is doing the exhaust. A couple things on the exhaust. I'm doing undercar exhaust, and I noticed I went back and did looked at a bunch of pictures, but all the replicas, undercar exhaust, the exhaust is inside of the kind of is brought towards the middle, a little bit inside of the bumperettes. On all the pictures that I found, I thought I had the pictures that I found, the bumpers actually are underneath the taillights. So I chose Walker's got to do a little bit of body modification underneath the fenders to put the tailpipes where I want them. But here we go. I'm going to show. I'll show you the picture here. And these are just all kind of details that I know are kind of crazy, but so here you can see these are two original Cobras. These are two original Cobras on the top. The one on the right's a narrow hip. The one on the left isn't. You can see the fender difference. Mine's a narrow. And you can see where the exhaust comes right underneath the little square tail lights. This is Bobby Crumpley's car, who's now is Mark's car, and Mark's going to be a guest on Bring a Trailer. Fascinating guy. I mean, he bought the car off Bring a Trailer from its second owner, Bobby Crumpley built this, who's been on our podcast. But here you can see on Bobby's car, the exhausts are just outside of these little bumperettes, the pushers. So here on this far right, this is where Morgan's going to cut out to get my to get my exhaust coming out exactly like the original, straight down the middle of the rectangular tail lights. So once again, I'm kind of going crazy on these details, but my idea with the car has been when you see this car, you see it coming, you'll hear it coming first, then you're going to see it. The closer it gets, if you know Cobras, your brain's going to be going, wait a minute, that's not a backdraft, that's not a super performance, that's not a Kirkham. This is looking real. And then it gets the closer it gets, it's these kind of details from the exterior that the only way you'll know my car is not original from the exterior is if you tap on the fiberglass or if you see the interior, you'll say, I don't remember Shelby ever having a brown leather interior with black carpet. And then the color is a one-off color. And then the last one, I'm going to switch screens here. Another quick update. Let me bring this one up. I'm going to share this because I know this is really cool. So this is a lot of the European English cars when you belong to a car club, you get one of these medallions. They're anywhere from 3 to 4 inches. And you'll see a lot of old English sports car where they have all the medallions across the front. And this is a wow sports car club. This is a sports car club that my father was in when he was stationed at Ever Air Force Base in France for about 50. I think Dad got there in like 56 or 7, and then we moved back to America about 63, maybe a little later. But he had a Jaguar XK, and then he had a Sunbeam Alpine, and this came off his cars, and I might have swiped it off his tool bench at some point in time, and then I sent it to Bobby Crumpley, and Bobby Crumpley polished it up, and I'm going to actually mount this to the front bumper of my Cobra, which will
The
be
like the ultimate
That's
grill
fantastic.
badge. I
Wow.
love it.
yeah. And then the last thing I'm going to the uh, UPS store tomorrow. This is the top of my door. When I took the dash out of the Cobra, I thought the glove box was attached to the dash. It wasn't. It fell on the door and did this. You can't buff that out scrape. So it's going back to Ron Randall at Metamorphosis, and Ron's gonna sand this down and repaint the top of this door for me, then mail it back to me. And
Beautiful.
then, so
All
that's
right. That's cool. We've all worked hard for not years, but decades. And this, if you're a car enthusiast, this is the reward you want.
yeah, yeah,
100%.
yeah. I mean,
I got a
Porsche's
little bit of a
work.
rant,
Yeah.
and then we'll
Oh,
we'll,
let's.
we'll wrap
All
it up.
right.
It's not.
Okay.
It's less of a rant, more of an observation. I call it a Porsche too far. and modeled on the movie A Bridge Too Far, the book A Bridge Too Far. And the reality for Porsche right now is they're in trouble. And from, if you look where they were, especially in the early pandemic era, so 2021, 22, 23, they were the most profitable car company in the world. And then starting 2025, they lost all their profitability because they had leaned so much of their emphasis on sales, R&D, marketing, everything on two electric cars. First, the Taycan, which came out, that's a BEV that came out, I think in 2019, maybe 18. And then in 2024, the Macan EV. And they were going to replace the Macan with the Macan EV. And now they're in the soup. And we said together, they need to make more 911s. 911 is hugely profitable for them. They restrict supply, so they need to make more 911s. Stefan, you said they need to make a new 914 or 924, an entry model. Maybe base it on, there's a 914, maybe base it on a Volkswagen Golf platform, but get a legitimate, don't scroll down yet, but make a legitimate entry level. And I agree with that. And of course, move away from,
Yeah, I bet people would ask, was the 914 a legit Porsche?
yeah, it was
Fair question.
engineered
Yeah.
and it was designed and engineered by Volkswagen. And then the same is with the next car, the 924. So here's my point. I think that when in the past, Porsche has, number one, moved away from what really is a Porsche. And number two, when they've moved away from what their customers want, they've been punished. And if you scroll up the 1970 to 1977, scroll up, there it is, 914. I mean, come on. It's air cooled, it's mid engine, but this is much more Volkswagen than it is a Porsche. It has an anemic four-cylinder engine. Again, yes, it's boxer. Yes, it's air cooled. But compared to the 911 of this era, this is ridiculous to call this a Porsche. And then they just tried again and again, kind of ignoring their customers. The 914 is going to be bought and was bought by really non-Porsche people, trying to bring people in, but it's not a real Porsche. And then the 924, scroll down, that was 1977 to 1982. Again, Volkswagen conceived and it had a Volkswagen engine. Now, this is water cooled, but it's a 2 liter, or actually, it started as 1.6 and worked its way up to 2 liters. Anemic, slow, not a real Porsche. Neither one of these cars are what their customers were crying out for. Now, if you scroll down, I'd say they got past all that. The 80s were good, the 90s were pretty good. But I think the Porsche too far recently is the Macan. I like the Macan. Jeff actually had a Macan. I've driven it.
Yep.
I think it's great. But I think when they came out with it, it wasn't really as much of a Porsche as it needed to be. It wasn't as a Porsche as the 924 or the 914, but this was much more Audi than it was Porsche. And this car, unfortunately, and I mean it when I say that, unfortunately, was a grand slam home run for them. And they made so much money from this car that I think they started focusing more on the Macan, maybe more on the Cayenne, and less on what really makes them Porsche. And the success of this car that was not really fully a Porsche, the success hurt them because they said, hey, we had a home run with the Macan. We're going to do something different. We're going to go electric with the Taycan. And all we got to do is call it a Porsche, and our customers are going to buy it because they bought the Macan. And I think the success of the Con was a curse because they assumed that, hey, we come out with a car that's not really a Porsche, like the Taycan and then the Macan EV, our customers will buy it. And it wasn't true. And the customers just said, hey, give us 911s, give us more 911s, and don't do this. By the way, before we get into the conversation, they absolutely are doing what we said, which we said, make more 911s. Q2 2026 911 sales are up 40%. They're making more 911s. And then the second thing is they're enriching the product mix. So they just came out with a GT3 SC. It's a convertible GT3. Here's what's going to happen. They made 2025, they made about 10,000 GT3 cars. This year, I bet you they're going to make 10,000 plus 50%. Because again, two models, GT3, GT3 Touring. They're going to add the GT3 SC. Now it's three models, 5,000 each. Imagine the profit. So they're doing it, but I think they also had to do what Stefan talked about, which is make an entry level car. And I think a bridge too far, a Porsche too far, I think that hurt them.
I agree totally, Steve. But here's my question. So they need some form of an entry level because the 911 has gotten just too expensive.
They
They had the
start at
box.
$130,000.
Exactly. You got the
Mhm,
Boxster and
mhm.
we had the Cayman. Now they're with the 918. Then they thought they were going to go electric and to keep them. So what would be an appropriate entry level Porsche? Is it going to be a front engine off some Volkswagen Audi platform? Or is there some platform? I mean, they've had the mid-engine with the Cayman and the Boxster, and they did well. The first Boxster series, I mean, that they sold a ton of those cars. So looking back at the history of the 914, the 924, the Cayman and the Boxster, what is, in your mind, an acceptable, yes, this is a Porsche entry level vehicle. That's not an SUV.
I'm
What
going to
is
ask
it?
Jeff.
Yeah, because he's the next
Right.
generation.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think as you guys have talked about before, it's what make it a 944, but make it using your kind of Golf R RS3 platform and make it use Ferdinand PX 5 cylinder to give it the character, give it the exhaust note, and really is it a hot hatchback? I don't think so, but I think it's a like a two-door reincarnation of the 944 that is separate from your Boxster, separate from your Cayman, in that it's front engine as opposed to mid engine.
When the
And
944 came out, especially the turbo, it was considered, I mean, it was real. It was a cool car, and people accepted that as the 924 now, but the 944, yes. And then the 928 was just this weird spaceship that was just like, it was just a crazy car, the 928. But they were considered real Porsches.
I think that what happened was Porsche realized we fucked up with the 924. This is not
Yes.
our
Mhm,
customers
mhm.
aren't wanting this. And if hairdressers and real estate agents are buying your car, it's not a real Porsche. And I think they said the 924, we fucked up. We can take the 924 platform and let's make it a real Porsche, which the 944 was a legit Porsche. It was a Porsche engine. They changed, they widened it, they made it much faster, much better handling, much better. That was a legitimate Porsche and was embraced by the Porsche community, especially when they made it a turbo. Well, we have I look at it and we talked about this, but it's worth repeating. There is a lesson or there's a precursor of a two-door Golf R. It's called the Audi TT. And they did this
Mhm.
around 2000, Audi or 1990, 99, 98, and they came out. The Audi T was on a golf platform, and they made it a really legit. And of course, the end of the line of the Audi TT included what I completely agree with Jeff. Included the five-cylinder engine, which gives it personality. So you can take the Golf R RS3 platform, which birthed the Audi TT, and you can take that platform and make it look something like a Neo 944. Maybe the five-cylinder is, maybe that's not the base. Maybe the base model is a four-cylinder. I'm okay with that. But that kind of take the parts and make a real Porsche. And again, if you take that five-cylinder engine, you can make a Porsche out of it. You can take the four-cylinder engine, make a Porsche out of that. And that to me would be the perfect entry level. Make it look like a Neo 944, but it's a sports car. Once you do that, then what you were saying, Stefan, which is entry level sports, just the Boxster made them a lot of money. Do
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
I'm gonna look this up. Why couldn't Porsche, if they can throw that six cylinder in the back of a car, why couldn't they throw it in the front of a car? The four cylinder from the Cayman and the Boxer, or the six cylinder from the 911. Why couldn't they put that in the front of a car. It must
They
be a
can.
packaging issue.
They
Maybe
can.
two, they can.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder why they,
Why
why
not?
not?
Yeah.
Why not? And then, just do a downgraded 911 engine in a smaller car. But I mean, they're already
I
making
hate
so
to
many of those engines.
I hate to trigger Porsche people, but the 981, I think, generation Boxster had a flat four-cylinder engine, and that was in the rear. But guess what else has a flat four-cylinder engine in the front? It's called a Subaru.
Subaru, yeah.
So if Subaru can do it, Porsche can do it. Of course you could do it. You just stick it in the front. Why not, Stefan? Make it a flat, take the engine from the Cayman and the Boxster, the 981, put that in the front, make it like a 944 looking thing, and then a detuned version of the
Yeah.
911 engine as the upgrade. It's the maybe the S. Do that. I mean, don't you think, Jeff?
I think so. Why wouldn't it work? And you look at it, like a Toyota GR86. I mean, that's a similar formula. They sell a bunch of those. I mean, same thing with the Miata, to lesser of a sales success, but I think there's a price point of, say, 60-ish, 50, 60 grand to start with, that Porsche could hit with this sweet spot. And maybe make it all-wheel drive, make it rear-wheel drive. There's a lot of perturbations you could do from here.
Yeah, here we go. Whoops, sorry.
I think what I would
There,
do is
I
come in
found
with
on
this
YouTube
entry
there's
level. I
a
would,
1989 944 turbo that has a 911 engine in it.
whoa,
So you can do it. Did a swap.
I love that. I'm not surprised. Here's what I think, and you guys can. I guess let's just tell what our lineup would be. My lineup would be Cayenne. I think that works. I get rid of the Panamera, get rid of the Taycan, get rid of the Macan, EV and ICE, and then I would have my entry level car we just discussed, and I would have my 911. And for now, that's all I would have, just those three vehicles. And I would really focus and then try to turn this ship around. And once you get some more momentum, I'm not against bringing the Macan back. Maybe there's something different about the Cayenne, which is really more. I don't know if it's more Porsche than it is more upscale, but I think that's the way to go, and then kind of see how things go for the next 10 years with that lineup. So Stefan, what do you think is your lineup?
My lineup would be a entry level a 944 with a four-cylinder or a 911 engine. I read it can be done. That would be the entry level. And then you've got the 911, all the different series. They need to do a base 911, go back to like what they call it 911T. There needs to be
Yes.
that one. That puts it more in an affordable price range. And you do the 911T, and then you bring out some paint to sample colors. So if you want, you're going to get the 911Ts are going to have just off the wall colors, kind of like the old RS. So
They have
special
a
colors.
911T, but you're talking about making it a real entry level, like it was in the 60s.
See, yeah,
Because the
yes,
911T now is 150 grand.
right. So a true entry level, just kind of stripped down, just but back to basics, Porsche. I think they have to keep the Macan because for sales and for profit margin, I think they need the volume for that to keep the company going. I would keep the Cayenne because there's just a huge desire for that large SUV. You get the X7s, the Bentaygas, all that. That's a moneymaker. Panamera, I don't know what sales are like on the Panamera. I'd probably just let that go. And then, the idea is could you do something also off the 944 that would be a convertible? I think the idea people still like an entry level convertible. I think I know they're slow sales for most companies, but to me, it's still kind of something that brings people in. So I think, yeah, so I would have a 944, I'd have the 911, then I'd get rid of the Taycan, I'd get rid of the Panamera, I'd have the Macan and the Cayenne, and that would be where I'd focus. You'd have two cars in the SUV group, two vehicles in the SUV group, and then you'd have entry level Porsche, the 911 Porsche, and then of course you got all the GT cars.
Jeff, same
Yeah.
thing or different?
I think similar in that I think you have to keep the Cayenne, and then I know they're coming out with the three-row version of the Cayenne, which I think is much needed for Porsche, and I think those will be keep your profits high with both of those, and then you can then fund your 911 from there, and then the 944. I think get rid of the Macan. I think if you're in the market for Macan, you could probably get a Cayenne anyways. Everyone's moving away from sedans, be it say ICE or EV. So I agree with getting rid of Taycan and Panamera. And I think the question is, do you keep a Boxster and a Cayman out there? I mean, I think they're decent sales success, so sure, why not? But I don't look at them as like in the eyes of Jeff Bezos, of like focus on what makes your beer taste better. I don't know that those are really the ethos of Porsche.
All right, gets the final word. Stefan, close us out.
All right, well, congratulations to both you guys on your Porsches. That is the exact model year and the series that I want, the 997.2. It's the perfect Porsche in my mind and still attainable. Anyway, so everybody, thanks for listening to this kind of special Porsche podcast. We'll have some safety next time around, but remember to hit like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.